I shoot for the moon, but if I miss it, I'll land up in the stars. I won't find answers by going out and drowning sorrows in the bars. Oh, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. Oh, smooth seas won't make me. Hello and welcome to Globetrotting with Gillespie. Yes, it's me, Dana Gillespie, on a different sofa this time. This time I'm up in one of my favourite parts of Britain, glorious Norfolk, where of course they always say the winds come whistling straight in from Siberia. But I've spent a lot of my time in Norfolk, and I'm up here with a man who's got an extremely interesting story about, in a way, how to help save certain parts of our planet. And I want him to tell me all about it so that we can all be educated and have our brains expanded. Would you please welcome Willie Athill? Hello, Willie.
Dada, how lovely to see you up here.
First of all, tell me, where exactly are we, so that the listeners and viewers know?
We are on the North Norfolk coast, looking north. You can have an idea on this chart here. We are exactly sort of here, and we're looking north out into the North Sea. So that's exactly where we are.
Well, I came up to visit you a couple of months ago because we did do a bit of filming actually on your boat.
Yeah.
And a bit of seal watching.
We went out there.
Yeah, and so then that's when you first ignited my imagination, because you started to tell me about your seaweed project. Can you tell us all about this thing? Because I think it's information that the world should know.
Well, it's a new project. No one's done it here yet in the southern North Sea. And it came about by, we thought that the North Sea was being used and abused in a way. We thought that it would be a good idea to put out seaweed to start filtering the water, starting to sort of filter the water coming off the land, which has got a lot of a lot of chemical fertilizers on it that all flow down the rivers out into the sea, and we would like to take those to stop the use of the chemical fertilizers on the land and use a fertilizer, a sustainable fertilizer made from seaweed coming from this water. And the whole point of it is to grow something in the water here, move it 2 kilometers or 2 miles, produce fertilizer on the land that it's going to be used on, and so the carbon footprint is tiny. At the moment, fertilizer companies are getting interested in using seaweed, but that seaweed comes from China and from South Africa, and its carbon footprint is enormous.
So do you have to persuade the farmers, basically, to change their fertilizer?
We do, but actually, funnily enough, up here, you've got big estates. You've got estates like Houghton, you've got, of course, Sandringham,
yeah. You've
got Tom Lester at Holcombe,
yeah.
And they're very keen. They're very keen to make a good footprint in the environment. They're not keen. They do have a mind to the bottom line. Of course, they have got to. They've got to be able to make money on their farms. But they are very, very focused on environmental good.
So you have to get, how is the seaweed itself going to be, somebody has to pick it out and take it somewhere?
Yeah, what we do is we grow it.
Yeah, show us
I'll show you on this, but what we do is we go and set moorings out to sea. We go and set moorings like this out to sea, and on this little section there, you've got a sort of net which looks like this, and is detailed, sort of little net like this, that stretches along, joins up in the middle, in between the two moorings, This is an engineering study we're doing on a 50-year storm event. So when we've designed it to break, for instance, because there's a hell of a lot of force out there. We've got, the waves and the sea, the wind. We've got an enormous amount of unknown forces. And so what we've got to do is we've got to engineer the system to be strong enough to withstand everything, but at one point it has got to break. And if it breaks in one place, all the forces come off, and you don't lose the whole bloody lot.
Yeah.
And it's designed to break.
Do you have to get permission from
we do.
don't know who? Who?
We get it from
the Queen?
Well, we initially get it from a company, a non-government organisation, non-elected, called MMO, which it manages all the waters around the British Isles for the Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen owns the seabed, but she has to have a body of people to manage all the water above that, and they are rigorous they tell us to apply, and then we fill in all the various parts of the protocols that we need to cover in our application. They study it, then they go out to the consultees and the other people who are using the ocean, the sea out here, and they go and discuss with them whether they think it's a good idea, or whether we will get in their way, or whether we'll disturb what they're doing. Those people will have concerns. They will come back and say, well, what happens if our ship comes along and crashes into it? And so they come back to us and say, what happens if the ship crashes into it? And we say, well, it's in our application that we're going to have certain buoys, navigational instruments. We're going to have navigational marks. And they say, well, who has told you this? And we say, well, we go to Trinity House. Trinity House are the ones that advise us and tell us exactly what we've got to have. And that's in law. So we've done that. They go back to the other consultee and say, the Norfolk Seaweed has done this. They've covered that angle. Tick.
Is this what you're in talks at the moment? Are you kind of bouncing backwards and forwards?
This buggering, great.
Oh, is this your correspondence?
This is the application. This is what we've filled in. This is our application. This is the detail of application. We have to cover everyone from the RSPB to from Natural England. We've got Historic England. So we have to have a seabed study made of the archaeological seabed study. So if there's a wreck out there with some ancient bones in it, we won't go and snarl it up.
Right.
And if we do find it in the work that we're doing, there is a protocol about what we do about it.
Well, I'm sure there's loads of red tape, but I have full faith in the Queen in the end.
I have full faith in the
She's
Queen.
ethical and marvellous, and look at Prince Charles. He's only for goodness.
He's only for goodness.
And you, like me, we refuse to watch The Crown. I won't watch it. I think it's...
I refuse to watch The Crown, and I'm sure the Queen refuses to watch it too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope so. I think it's appalling. I think it's very dreadful to do a life story of people...
Dana, I mean, what we're doing out here, everyone who matters to me is behind it. Everyone thinks it's a brilliant idea. We think it's a great idea, and the reason we think it's a good idea, it is completely and utterly not only sustainable, but it's regenerative, and that's what I'm after. The North Sea here has been trawled over and extracted screwed over and used for 200 years. It's been worked like buggery. And to feed the nation and to make people money and so forth. But regardless of why, it is a desert out there. And we're going to put back the biomass.
Does the company or is it called, I don't know, has it got?
Norfolk Seaweed.
Norfolk Seaweed, marvellous, simple.
Simple.
So I really hope it's going to do well. And you know, when you took us out and we did a little bit of seal watching, so I think we'll go and see a bit of seals from the boat. But is there anything else you can add that you think that the nation should know about? I mean, or is that kind of
well,
it?
I do. No, I think the nation should know about it. I think that what the nation should know is, for a start, they should know that there is an alternative to using oil and gas-based fertilizers on the land.
Yeah.
There's an alternative to using the spaces out in the sea that are not used at the moment, and people just look at a bit of seabed, sea space, and they think, you know, it's a bit of blue, and it's in the case of grey in the case of the North Sea, and they little do they know that under there is the lungs of the world.
The nutrients
and the lungs, you know, the amount of CO2 that is absorbed by the ocean surface, gets into the water column, gets gobbled by seaweed, and gets put down into the bottom of the ocean and sequestered, is 5 times more than the amount of carbon that's sequestered by all land-based plants. Which is a pretty amazing thought.
Well, I think this information has to go to the nation, which it is, and I really want to thank you, Willie, for taking your time to do this. So we're going to maybe get onto a little boat trip and just see the salty dog at the helm of his boat while we watch the seals. And I want to thank you for talking to me on Globetrotting. Willie Athill and the Seaweed Company, yippee! Norfolk Seaweed, long may it rule the waves.
Thanks a lot.
Under the waves, actually.
Yeah, under the waves,
Under the waves.
Thank you so much. You're breathing the oxygen from that seaweed.
We all are.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation.
It's great. Yeah, that's lovely.
I won't put out these flames. Oh, smooth seas. Oh, won't make me tough. Just give me rough seas. I'll learn more when the sea